The notification on my phone lit up at 2:47 a.m. Finn's voice, thick with sleep and that familiar tone of casual entitlement, drifted through the speaker like smoke under a door. "We need to talk tomorrow," he said. "About us. About everything." I stared at the ceiling of our bedroom, my bedroom in my house, and felt something cold settle in my chest. After 6 years together, I'd learned to read the warning signs in his voice. This wasn't going to be good. The next evening, Finn arranged himself at our kitchen table like he was conducting a board meeting. His laptop was closed, hands folded, wearing that serious expression I'd only seen when his latest get-rich-quick scheme had inevitably collapsed. The YouTube channel that would make him bigger than PewDiePie. The NFT portfolio that was supposed to set us up for life. The cryptocurrency investments that had evaporated along with most of his savings. Well, the money I'd given him to invest. "I think we should break up," he said, the words falling between us like stones into still water. I actually laughed. The sound surprised both of us. "You don't do enough around the house," he continued, his voice gaining confidence. "I feel like I do all the emotional labor around here. I'm always the one who has to point out when things need to be done." The kitchen fell silent except for the hum of the refrigerator I paid for, filled with groceries I bought, sitting in the house I inherited from my grandparents. Let me paint you the picture of our life together. For 6 years, I'd been the sole provider while Finn pursued his passions. Every mortgage payment, every utility bill, every grocery run, my responsibility. I worked insane hours to keep us afloat while he spent his days networking and building his brand from the comfort of our living room. Yes, sometimes I was too exhausted to do dishes immediately after a 12-hour workday. Sometimes my coffee mug sat on the counter overnight, or my shoes ended up by the front door instead of in the closet. But you know what I never forgot to do? Pay the bills that kept the roof over our heads. Meanwhile, Finn's biggest household contribution had been reorganizing our bookshelf by genre. 3 times, and throwing away my perfectly good Tupperware because it didn't spark joy anymore. This was the same man who had a complete meltdown if the Wi-Fi went out for more than 5 minutes. Guess who called the provider every single time? The same man who couldn't order takeout without asking for my input 3 times and still somehow managing to get my order wrong. But here's where the conversation took a truly surreal turn. After his breakup announcement, Finn leaned back in his chair with this smug expression I'd never seen before. "This will be a good reset for both of us," he said, gesturing around the kitchen like he was surveying his domain. "You could probably move back in with your mom or something. Give us both some space to figure things out." My blood turned to ice water. "I've been thinking about turning the guest room into a proper office," he continued, eyes bright with plans. "Maybe get a dog since there won't be anyone to complain about the hair anymore." That's when it hit me like a freight train. He genuinely seemed to have forgotten, or maybe never truly understood, whose name was actually on the deed to this house. Not his name, not even close. This house was my inheritance from my grandparents, purchased 2 years before I'd even met Finn. Every mortgage payment, every repair, every utility bill, all in my name. He'd never contributed a single dollar toward ownership, never been added to any paperwork, never had any legal claim to this property whatsoever. I excused myself, walked upstairs, and locked myself in our bedroom. Through the thin walls, I could hear him already on the phone with someone, his voice animated as he described his new place and how excited he was to finally have some freedom. I wasn't going to argue with him. I wasn't going to try to change his mind or explain reality. No, I was going to let him sit in his little delusion for as long as he wanted. Let him think he was winning this breakup. Let him believe I'd be packing my bags and heading out the door with my tail between my legs. Because Finn had no idea what was coming. He had no clue that he was about to lose everything. And honestly, I couldn't wait to watch him realize just how badly he'd screwed up. Over the next week, Finn transformed into someone I barely recognized. He lounged around the house like the king of a castle he'd never built, leaving messes everywhere and gaming until 4 a.m., like nothing had changed. He started giving me subtle instructions about what I should pack up to make the transition easier for both of us. Then came the night he invited Mila over. She arrived with a bright smile and a bottle of wine, clearly expecting a casual evening with her new boyfriend. But what she got was a front row seat to Finn's complete break from reality. He gave her a tour of my house like he was some kind of real estate mogul. This is the living room. I've been thinking about getting a new couch, something more modern. This is the kitchen. I love the open layout. It's great for hosting. And this is my office where I do most of my work these days. I almost choked when he said that last part. The office was the spare bedroom I'd set up for him to maybe do some freelance work, but which had become nothing more than his gaming cave. Mila ate it up, though. I could see her mentally redecorating, imagining herself settling into a life of domestic bliss. Meanwhile, I stood there gripping my coffee mug so hard I thought it might shatter. Later that evening, Finn pulled me aside with this patronizing smile. I think it's best if we start working on a timeline for when you'll be out. No rush, of course, but Mila and I need to start planning. Planning what? A housewarming party in my living room? I just smiled sweetly and said, "Oh, don't worry about me. I'm handling everything." The smugness on his face was almost beautiful. He really thought he'd won. The next morning, while Finn was still asleep, I made my move. I called a locksmith and had every lock in the house changed. The locksmith was professional and efficient, in and out in under an hour. I paid him, thanked him, and sat down with a cup of tea to wait for the fireworks. When Finn finally stumbled into the kitchen, still half asleep and wearing yesterday's clothes, I casually delivered the news. "By the way, I had the locks changed this morning. You'll need to grab your things and leave by the end of the day." The color drained from his face like someone had pulled a plug. "What do you mean you changed the locks? You can't do that." "Oh, I absolutely can," I replied, stirring my tea with deliberate calm. "This is my house, remember. It's in my name. You're not on the deed, you're not on the mortgage, and now you're not welcome here." He tried to argue. He tried to plead. At one point, he even attempted to guilt trip me. "I thought you loved me. I thought we were building something together." But reality is a stubborn thing, and it was finally catching up with him. Mila arrived in the middle of his frantic packing, probably expecting another romantic evening. Instead, she got to witness Finn stuffing his belongings into garbage bags while I stood there, arms crossed, reminding him not to forget his precious gaming chair. She kept looking between us, confusion written all over her face. "Wait, this isn't your house?" Finn couldn't even meet her eyes, let alone answer her question. By sunset, they were both gone. I poured myself a glass of wine, sat down on the couch Finn had wanted to replace, and thought about how close I'd come to losing everything because I'd been too generous with my time, my money, and my patience. Never again. In case anyone's wondering, Finn is now couch surfing with friends, when he can find them. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Mila dumped him too, once she realized he was unemployed, broke, and basically homeless. Sometimes karma doesn't just knock on your door. Sometimes it changes the locks and makes you sleep in your car. And sometimes when you've spent 6 years supporting someone's dreams while they take everything for granted, watching them finally face consequences feels like the sweetest justice of all. The house is quiet now, peaceful, mine, just the way it should be.